Yeah. It's okay, I'll give you your information and I'll.
But y'all just wanted to see what would.
Basically. What are you doing?
Hey, guys.
How are you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good.
She comes over and says, yeah, we have, thank you again very much for allowing us to use those remaining.
Where's that 30 or 10?
It's so much help, it's just, thank you very much. I just want you to know I'm appreciative.
All through there.
Oh, but I haven't, no, I will same place, but in case.
We don't, don't poke yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
How do you like it?
So I would hit this one.
Thank you.
This is on the flip one. Did you come in? Who's on the?
Yeah, I saw it through, yeah.
Thank you again.
October 9th.
Yeah, it should be.
I mean, October.
What else? Say, comments?
Yeah, that's. Did you smack him? 17. I figured there would be moments saying, I wasn't even born.
It's hard. No. Well, it's like when you can talk about sometimes. Eat the whole thing.
They're thinking of it.
It was winter, I never very well.
Sitting.
You sit next to John.
Joy, she's sitting, she's just.
Person, hour, day, week.
Starting here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So when is like?
Oh, she's not retired.
Just celebration.
This is, she's the first person to get to 30 years.
I know how you feel.
No, she didn't retire. We're just celebrating.
See, all that tribute today, I got this. Celebration.
You can't, I told you.
No, it was the celebration because nobody's made it.
Oh, wow. She ain't lying. How are you?
Nobody's made it.
Let me stop, let me stop.
Oh, really?
Oh, he started. 20 years on this rock. Yeah. Thank you. They would have taken that when I got hired. Awesome.
One of the toughest things. Look at that. I'm not even gonna mess with this staff, because I got a private staff. Loving the bow tie, look at that. It's like, I
know.
Well, you're. Really doesn't have. You're okay. Hello, how are you?
Hey, man. You know, I got you. Don't be sick.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh, put it up with, you know, pig.
What's up, man?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
We've been lively.
Never flew down.
Yeah.
So, Jay, you tell you. Yeah. I'll be cool. I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good night.
Sharon,
The reason it was not within.
Ah, okay.
I had to change all my settings because mine went to sleep. It was.
What? Well, we now.
Yeah. You know, let's. Like an actual.
Yeah. We're not saying that. She's like, not saying. Like, no.
Like. Meeting decision.
I was thinking like.
Do what don't need to.
No, that's
I
how
walked in.
Yeah.
How are you, sir? Sir?
You should.
There's the man, the legend. First, you gotta get a form. Yeah. You do.
they go into a comedy show.
You know, I told him.
Like so.
I'm not gonna try to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Struggling to see. Sorry, one from.
I was, yeah, 3 years.
So, Pam is France. So, Pam is in France.
She ran off.
No, right? She didn't.
I mean, I just found out you next week you share.
They need to find someone.
I'll show you.
Hey, how are you? Yeah.
And nowadays.
Like, it's just like.
Yeah, she's not running.
And so before she leaves, one of us needs to.
What?
Doing well, how are you? Well, it was at the end of what happened, we were giving out candy, what happened on that main street, everyone gets excited to leave and everyone goes fast. Yeah. So I turned around and we're like, whoa, there's no one in front of us, we gotta go. So we hustled for the rest of the parade, yeah. That was good.
I only like outfits too, so we've watched some really late. But gymnastics kind of like
Where did you have I mean, you can't, where do you start? Don't have.
Where do I start?
we usually don't.
We are.
We have.
We have.
So who goes towards Gainesville? Who goes towards Gainesville? You? Where the sports already been, where the sports and stuff are. That you?
Oh, no, we're.
Do we even have, because we don't have. a quorum yet, they don't.
That's hard.
Go home, we can count for that.
That's where we crossed over.
And that's it by 234. By 234.
No, it's,
Okay, so we need this
Manassas
by.
Drive and.
That's what it was 7.
Yeah. Right, last time you lied.
Somerville one, but that's.
Don't give your word unless you.
Oh.
Last year.
Double whatever. Anything in government takes way longer.
You start the route.
Light meeting today. Do you have like,
Yeah, we got a course. And we're on time, on target, and I feel we're gonna gavel in.
How was your day yesterday?
what was this? Oh, it's long.
It's the bottom, yeah, bottom.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start this meeting. We have a quorum, so we're good. So we have no remote participation. And so let me call up, Byron Lloyd, for our safety briefing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a little bit different this month, and I'm going to introduce our manager of quality assurance, and he'll be giving our safety message for this month. Kenny Tulu.
Chair, board members, and guests. I just wanted to remind everybody about our current exits. If you need to get out of the building for an emergency, we have that door. You go down and follow the exit that way. You can exit this way and take the right, go down the steps so you can exit the building. We're running a distracted driving campaign for the month of April. I just have a few tips I'd just like to share with you guys. Please silence or turn off your phone while driving. All right, enable or download a do not disturb app. That's very important while you're driving. Set your GPS before you're starting to drive and make sure the volume is turned up so you don't have to reach to turn the volume up. You keep both hands on the wheel. Follow the law because it is illegal to hold a handheld device while you're driving. And one more tip, put your phones down because the road is calling. That's my message.
All right, well, thank you for that safety briefing. That's a very good point. And I always say that I was holding those cell phones. I don't know how many people in this room do that, but people drive literally with their cell phone in their hand. So we really should make that a practice to throw it in the back or turn it up like you said. Okay, so now let's pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Senior, call the roll.
Victor Angry,
Here.
Andrea Bailey, Kenny Bodie, Margaret Franklin, Tom Gordy.
Here.
Bob Weir,
Here.
DeShonda Jefferson, Karen Mills, Idris O'Connor, Kim Short, Isley Vega, Tanisha Allen, Monica Gary, Meg Bunky, Pamela Young, Pamela Sabeski, Ralph Smith,
Here.
Jeanette Richel, Alana Mensing, Daryl Moore, Shannon Holmes, Will McIntosh, Deborah Frazier, Lori Hayes, Jacob Lane, Kevin Marshall, Jennifer DeBrule, Todd Horsley.
Here.
Zach Trogdon. Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Can I get a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Second.
Yes, you can. We have a motion, Commissioner Allen, second, Commissioner Gary.
Victor Angry,
Aye.
Tom Gordy.
Aye.
Bob Weir,
All right.
Tanisha Allen,
Aye.
Monica Gary,
Aye.
Ralph Smith,
Yes.
Jeanette Richel,
I'm sorry. Oh, you called. Yes.
and Todd Horsley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that motion's approved.
Thank you, ma'am. Now can I get approval of the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion, Commissioner Allen, second, Commissioner Gordy. Any questions? No, okay. Call for motion to vote.
Victor Angry.
Aye.
Tom Gordy.
Aye.
Bob Weir.
Aye.
Tanisha Allen.
Aye.
Monica Gary.
Aye.
Ralph Smith.
Yes.
Richel.
Yes.
Todd Horsley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that motion's approved.
Thank you, ma'am. And so our VRE is not gonna be here tonight, so there's no VRE presentation. If you have any questions about VRE, please feel free to reach out to Rich Dalton, say that 3 times fast, and he'll update you on any thing that you need to know. Public comment time. We have the one email that two?
Yes,
Okay.
one came in since we spoke. There are 2 public comments and their comments and responses are printed out at everyone's seat and they will be included in the minute.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And so now we're on to consent agenda. And let's see, so can I get a motion for consent?
So much.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gary, second Commissioner Allen. Please call.
Victor Angry,
Aye.
Tom Gordy, Bob Weir, Tanisha Allen,
Aye.
Monica Gary,
Aye.
Ralph Smith,
Yes.
Jeanette Richel,
Yes.
Todd Horsley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that motion's approved.
And now we're on to Dr. Snyder.
Yes.
The
So
floor is yours.
keeping my comments short, we've just cleared the month of March, so we don't have ridership, but our ridership in February, which is in your packet, very good in comparison to our January ridership. We always, of course, had the last week of March hit by spring break, just depends on where it falls. The last of the buses on property have been wrapped in the new scheme. It only took, I think, 5 years, but that is what a drip campaign does. So rather than just spend literally $1 million on doing that, we did it as we replaced fleet, did it at lower cost and when we found savings. So we can no longer, it was a joke we had for a few years called Feel the Teal. You can no longer feel the teal. We are 100% wrapped in that brand. Very exciting. Just because it does indicate just the amount of change we had in terms of our fleet turnover. So that's exciting. We had a ridership retreat yesterday with staff to discuss our process for continued evaluation of service, consolidations, identification of park and ride lot performance, those types of things. Did want to announce that this weekend is the statewide rodeo. We're having it at our western facility out in Manassas. If you're interested, please let us know. I think Christine sent out a couple of blasts of information, but we'll send one more. The main event is this Sunday from 9 to 2. If you are interested in driving a bus. We will- That is your chance.
I challenge Vic.
The horse is clear. He's already driven the bus. We took care of that over summer. but
Let's race each other.
The horse is clear. We'll have races. We'll get the old fleet.
Oh, I think.
Legal counsel does not appreciate the invitations. So those are some of the highlights we have. What I'm really excited, I want to remind everyone a couple of quick things. It's fun to come out to the rodeo. The drivers do an amazing job. It's a skills course. You're not required to spend the whole day, but just come out, support and champion them. It's the highest turnout for what I understand we've ever had for the rodeo. They've literally taken over the entire Wyndham Hotel out along Sudley and 66. So it's going to be a rocking place. Should be a great time. And then of course we end up having a banquet on Sunday night. So we expect to bring home, we usually bring home hardware. We hope to bring home even more. This being our home court. Speaking of hardware, mentioned last month that we had received and would receive our awards from TSA. This is the award we got. I was floating around the different offices of staff. This is for our partnership award. We can pass that on if you wish that way. And this one I described our gold standard award from TSA. So these are the 22 awards. We're very excited to receive that, very honored. And we're appreciative of TSA coming down, spending some time with us and giving us the award. The other award we want to give is, I forget what day it was, about 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
20.
Yeah. The 20th, Phil and I were working on budget presentations and he said, "You smell something burning?" So he jumped up to check the microwave. We should have looked out the window. And it turned out that the QA team and the ops team and the maintenance team were in the yard because the space behind the shopping center over on Dale Boulevard and the Hilton Memorial Chapel had caught on. And so the team, and those were the windy days, that 20, 30 mile an hour continuous wind gusts. They moved the fleet off the fence because the top fears would be hot embers landing on a fiberglass roof, hitting the rubber part of the tire, and we could potentially lose our fleet. It's also next to the fuel island. And so it hit a point where Phil had sent an email to say evacuate the building, and Byron pulled the fire alarm all within about a minute and a half. I dropped stuff off, turned back around. Phil said, "Where are you going?" So we're gonna find out. Well, thank you. And we went back and I found the operations team and the maintenance team literally fighting fires along the woods. So Byron, Kenny to it, myself, we emptied the building of as many fire extinguishers as we could carry, walked out, relieved the team while they locked down the maintenance facility, turned off the fuel island, secured all the doors. We had to move the entire transit center and all the transfer point from here off-site, gather all the employees. We had vendors on site doing bus wraps. It was an all hands on deck moment, and we went into the woods and literally fought the fires because at one point the embers were crossing the ravine. And I called Supervisor Angry to let him know what was going on because I saw the Dale City volunteer firefighter truck pull in. I was wondering if he would be on it. And he was not. We would have appreciated your guidance on that, but it was an experience, not just from the standpoint of what we did from an activity standpoint. We actually put our fire drills in place and they worked. Our fire marshal programs were, we kicked every door down, so to speak. We unlocked every door that didn't have a window to make sure no one was in there. We cleared the building quickly, successfully. We did all the stuff we were supposed to do, and credit Byron and Kenny and the Keolis team who spent so much time putting that in. It worked. Stuff we learned is it's hard to put out a fire with a garden hose. So we're discussing getting extra garden hoses and making them a little longer. But we talked to fire department, and we're gonna do a postmortem event. There's a lot of debris, leaf debris in the woods, which makes it, as I learned that day from the brave firefighters that did a fantastic job, who truly were in the woods battling the blaze the entire time. What can we do to try to minimize that? Said it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna look to see what we can do to do mitigation for the future. It's at least a once in a 7-year thing for me. So I've been here 7 years, it hasn't happened before. So we can measure it in Billy Wingfield time as he's been here and now had a fire, flood, snow, other stuff. So
It's you.
But in addition to all the work we did, I just wanted to take the effort and say thank you to the team with an above and beyond award. Bill, if you'll come up on behalf of the Keolis employees, Arkell Anderson, David Brown, John Coburn, Scott Swink, and Billy Wingfield. With your plaques for you and your team, along with your pins. You guys did the work. Appreciate it. Literally moved the entire fleet off the fence.
Thank you.
Help save the day.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Wait.
But all those guys were on morning shifts.
Is my bow tie straight now?
Yeah, we got, me too.
Say what, you got, how significant this is, because it's all nice when everything goes well. Cause you gotta understand, if that fire would have got to here, this building would have been a mess, and we would be talking about some significant serious damages, and the whole bus fleet system would have been out. And if that fuel system would have caught, holy moly, like that's a whole nother level. So the fact, it's interesting, and maybe I'll wait for you to do the rest and talk about the rest of that. Watching this man with a garden hose and extinguishers, literally feeling like a firefighter because I was watching him, and that felt like he was having a good time. Although it was the right time, because it was, we needed all hands on deck to make sure we saved this building. So
Also want to recognize Ed Vidola, Byron Lloyd, Kenny Tuitt, and Vince Walker, who are a key part of the team. Yeah, it was actually good. A great example, and I'm not picking on him. We picked on him at the moment, but Byron had never used a fire extinguisher before. Who here has used a fire extinguisher? If you haven't done it, it's confusing until then. So we had firefighters, and we just said, we've not used these. Can you? And so Byron got to use the pressurized water system as well as the actual chemical one. So now we have our safety and security team with 100% experience deploying fire extinguishers, understanding the protocol. So taking advantage of things when you have the moment matters.
Well, he wants a hat for his office, so.
So I got a little plastic hat.
We'll probably have to get it. Can we order on that way?
bringing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Future firefighters right there.
You have that chair.
I'm so proud. It's like a fireman watching these.
Really bad TV children. So in addition to the plaque and the above and beyond award, all those employees are gonna receive $250.
Now, because your fearless executive director, Dr. Snyder, did not recognize the leader of that pack, if you saw the pictures, we're gonna do so here. And so, you know, he didn't do this because one of the things about above and beyond is it comes with that $250. And so he didn't want to commit himself to that. So I'm gonna ask this commission if I can get a motion to, you know, approve the same $250 we're giving to this group, to Dr. Snyder as well, with his own award and his own pen, because he goes above and beyond. And so before I do that,
Second.
okay, so I have a motion. I've got a second, Commissioner Garrett, Commissioner Bodie. Any discussion, anybody? Yes, sir.
You didn't Photoshop yourself in, so we have to.
Lord, I got a little jealous in my mouth, like, he was having way too much fun with that little water hose, but he did a good job. I'll say that because it did. There's another story that he did with the fire jump behind the firefighters. We won't talk about that, but you know that story. So no firefighter wants to be in that position to be trapped on a fire. And that's a real story that it got behind them. And these guys put out that little blaze. I say little right now at the time because it could have gotten bigger and created a bigger problem. So, you know, there's a lot more to that story that they're not really talking about, but the fact that that could have been a way bad situation than what it turned out to be. And if you've driven in, you look on that hill, this is what one of the issues I have with our homeless population, because that amount of trash that's up there is a nightmare. And that catching on fire and all that plastic that's up in there is a problem in itself. So anyway, I want to give you that, you know, give you your
Giving a lot of these out, I finally got one. Go vote.
Tennessee.
Mr. Chairman,
Vote.
Oh,
yes,
yes.
we have a motion, but we.
Yes, now I'll sit down and let's call for that vote, yes.
In the meantime?
Victor Angry,
Aye.
Kenny Bodie,
Aye.
Tom Gordy,
Aye.
Bob Weir, Karen Mills, Tanisha Allen,
Aye.
Monica Gary,
Aye.
Ralph Smith,
Yes.
Jeanette Rishel,
Yes.
Janet Holmes, yes, Todd Horsley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that motion's approved.
All right, and let me just say on behalf of the commission, because they're all gonna agree and tell you all this, thank you all, everyone, for what you did on that day of that fire. It seems minimal now because you did such a great job, but it could have been a far worse situation. So thank you all for what you did with that. Yes.
Keeping on our theme of recognition and appreciation, today we did something we have never done before. We honored and celebrated an employee with 30 years of service. Joyce joined us in 1994. Where were you in April of 1994?
I was 7 years old. When I did that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. You can-
I don't remember most of the 90s.
Eddie, pictures.
I feel like there's a story there.
You know, it looks good. They go well together.
Oh, look at that, imagine.
We gave out our first, only 30-year.
Wow.
In addition, we asked Joyce to say networks, and I'm gonna paraphrase what she said. She described all the employees that she's worked with over the years, but she then described all the elected officials who have come and served on this commission, how much she valued with them. And she didn't say it, but what she meant to say is, elected officials come and go, Joyce Embry is forever. Tremendous amount of work, tremendous dedication, and we're excited next year when we have the next 30-year employee. But Joyce, thank you. Thank you. So with that, Mr. Chair, we'll turn this over to Keolis for their operational update.
Yes. Mr. Bring all that bad weather with them from Colorado.
I know.
I don't know, I don't work.
So is the slide report there? You can go to the next one.
Next slide.
Yeah, I think if you talk loud, he'll hear in the back, and just the next slide.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're the man, you got the wizard in the sky.
Chair Commissioners, thank you. Once again, another reminder for the rodeo. Again, we've been sending out information
Maybe another final update may hit your inbox. As a FYI, it'll be a lot of fun again, trying to bring the hardware back home. You can go next slide. In terms of performance, I've been introducing this slide to everyone to familiarize themselves with our paratransit / microtransit service. It continues to improve month over month. We'll see more of it be introduced in June. And so we'll continue to track its progress. On-time performance, still strong. And we'll continue to work on shared rides or multi-loading the vehicle. So instead of doing one Uber trip or onesie trips, we'll look to multi-load the trips so we can gain some efficiencies that way. Next slide. Missed trips continue to be in the right place. Of the missed trips we're currently having, most of which have been mechanical now. As you heard, we have a new fleet coming in, which will help us with our 30 footers. Once that comes in, that 13 would turn into a 3. And I hope that we can then move to new slides because we've stabilized service and are continuing on the right path. Next slide. Fleet availability, with the new vehicles that we have received, we have seen an uptick in fleet availability. So thank you, PRTC, and the support goes a long way. Definitely our shop and dispatchers who are preparing for the weekend are thankful to you. So I'll bring their thanks to the board meeting. It goes a long way. And we continue to meet targets in terms of fleet availability. Next slide. This is miles between service interruptions. We're right at goal at 14,500. This speaks to the reliability of the fleet. So when you're out there, knowing that you could expect to get from A to B without your service being interrupted. So we're at goal there. So final slide.
Maybe the last one.
Okay. With that said, I'll open the floor to any questions.
All right, we have any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, you're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you for that presentation. And so,
And then just reference the industry article, as always, good reading, all of our past agendas. I try to promote that Aaron tried to find an interesting thing in the industry and then brings it back to why it matters for our area. You can, for new commissioners, visiting past agendas, you can actually go through and click and read all those past articles just to get a sense of what is occurring in the industry, and then also how does it affect us at a level. Mr. Chair, that is all.
all right. And can I recommend this? Because I don't know if you all know this, and I don't want to put Perrin on the spot, but he is Mr. Bus and Transportation. So his articles are very thorough, and he has a lot out there, and he really knows what he's talking about. So if you can go surf through some of his articles and just read this and go backwards, or just stop by his office, you'll see his love for the bus system and public transportation. And so I'll just take the time to read these articles as he invests the time to find them that benefits us for what we do here. Okay. All right. And now we're going to bring in the one and only rock star of BEI, right? Yes. All right. We have Janae Muller-Time, who's going to give us a nice presentation and update of BEI. All right. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you move to the next? Oh, thank you, Chris. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to update you on the OmniRide DEI working group. Now, as we do have some new members to the commission, next slide, please. I would like to introduce myself and give a brief history of how we came to be. First and foremost, my name is Janae Muller-Time. I've worked for OmniRide for 7 years. 5 years, I was a transportation support associate, and the last 2 years, I have been the senior Vanpool program associate for Vanpool Alliance. I have been the chair of the OmniRide DEI working group for the last 3 years, after our original chair, Ben Matters, had stepped down. And as of January, I also sit on the DEI committee for the Association for Commuter Transportation. So that's new. I believe that happy people do good work, and a key component to job satisfaction begins with employees feeling seen and heard and appreciated for the work that they do by their management structure. The DEI working group began in 2019 after an assessment done by Extari in 2018 showing a need for cultural workplace changes to have psychological safety and productive workplaces. Next slide, please. With the help of DEI specialist Nancy West, we were able to create 7 components to create a productive and harmonious workplace. Our first one is communication and awareness. That is communicating what OmniRight is doing to change its workplace culture. Our second was accountability, demonstrating leadership, accountability, commitment, and involvement regarding diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Our third was collaboration, creating an environment that improves management, employee communications, cross-department and cross-departmental collaborations. Our fourth was inclusion, creating a workplace environment that is supportive and respectful and values differing perspectives and experiences. Our fifth was trust, engaging in a productive process of building trust among coworkers. Sixth was DEI awareness and skills, which is improving DEI awareness and skills through training and education. And finally, talent development, supporting employee growth through professional and career development. With these components, we were able to create a workplace culture that showed a marked improvement in a survey that was taken in 2021. We showed increases in all areas with an overall average of 30% improvement in all categories. This is where I'm going to go off speech for a little bit. We were actually congratulated by J.R. Hipple for the smallest amount of time and the most amount of progress between our survey in 2018 and our survey in 2021. Now, it would be very easy for us to rest on this. However, the DEI is more than just creating a great workplace. And I'm happy to say that the last 6 months have been dedicated to this. Next slide, please. We revised the Employee Engagement Committee, which disbanded in 2022 due to staff changes. I would personally like to thank Lyric Jones and Inese Graydon for their hard work, which was instrumental in offering us a taste of soul food in February to celebrate Black History Month for both staff here and at the Western facility. It's a very concentrated effort. Next slide, please. We continue staff development with trainings to continue to build a psychologically safe and inclusive workplace. Recently, we had an in-person training on professional development and anti-harassment and an online training on the respectful workplace. In addition, and thank you so much to Becky, Becky explained the workforce utilization charts from the EEO in February to show us where we were in diverse hires and in areas that we may fall short in. Next slide, please. The last 6 months, we have also been looking at ways to revisit and realign the DEI strategic plan. We held multiple SWOT analysis meetings. I had to look that up, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. To allow members of the DEI to express what they thought the next step should be. We have gathered a lot of useful information and we do look forward to presenting the plan to you at a later date. Next slide, please. Once again, I would like to thank the DEI working group, the executive staff at OmniRight, and the members of the commission for your continuing support of the DEI and our measures. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
So I'll start. Janae, you said you've been in the chair now for 3 years, so I won't on it first. It's not even a question, it's really, I want to comment because I remember when Dr. Snyder, you really, since the whole reorg and everything, you got a good handle on the personnel and create the DEI and got people in positions. Now I'm going to put Janae on the spot here. Because I remember in 2020, she was very introverted and didn't speak like you're speaking now. Being the chair of this program, the point is you have really blossomed in this position and you've taken the program with you, which is one thing I want to mention, that we should never let this go on autopilot. And that the passion that you have for the last 6 months, everything you just talked about, you have a team of people that you can recognize and that are doing great things, that are keeping what we always talk about with employees. A happy employee will give you better productivity in a workforce, especially in this industry that we're doing. And this program is very effective. And so I just want to say we should never let it go on autopilot. Thank you for what you've been doing the last 3 years. I guess I've taken that journey with you because I've been the chair the last 3 years. So I literally watched you grow through this. And really, I think that's how, well, I know that's how we got here. So I just want to acknowledge and recognize what you're doing here and say that it should never, this commission should never allow this to go on autopilot and continue to hear the great updates that you're saying. Even if you don't have anything new to do, maybe we just got to go out and find it. So I'll stop there to just say that and open it up. Yes, Mr. Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Janae, for the presentation, all your hard work over the last few years. Just want to echo a lot of what the chairman just said. DEI, I hate to say, has become a buzzword, a buzz acronym. Everyone's doing DEI now, and they just do to check a box. But something that came out as in this presentation, some of your other presentations, that you're not doing it just to check a box, say, hey, look, we're embracing diversity and equity. You're actually saying there's an experience that our employees have as a result of that, and that helps create a better space for them to work and advance in their career here. And I want to highlight that because right now, as we discussed in the past, there is a huge shortage in this industry, right? There are a lot of different agencies, including ones that fall under the same thing as Prince William County, that are competing for our drivers, for our operators, for all the people that are employed here. And so in order to somehow find a way in this ultra competitive environment to find a way for people to feel like they are valued here, as opposed to, hey, I just want to go somewhere else, get more money and check a box and make my paycheck and leave. That's important work. It's vital work, as the chairman just said. And I hope that, however long you do this, you're still able to inspire that sort of spirit of this. We're doing it because of the people, not because of some ambiguous idea of equity and inclusion. So I wanted to commend you on that, especially in this moment where everything's so competitive, of the value that brings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I always say happy people do good work. Y'all have probably heard me say it a million times. I'll say it a million more, but this wonderful environment that we work with has been amazing. And as for inspiration, most of the people in this room sit on our council. So you're thanking them right now as well. So thank you.
Thanks, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hold on, I have something to say too. I've gotten to know you kind of as we go in and out, and we've had our own conversations, but I just have to say, I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing, and thank you for Mr. Bob Schneider and everyone who has had a hand in making sure that this is structured appropriately and given the correct attention, because just sitting through some of your past presentations, I've learned a lot. And I've been able to take that. So it's not just the employees, just the presence and the climate and culture overall even has had an impact on me, and things that I've learned and been able to take back to my circles professionally and personally. So I'm very grateful. Thank you for the work you're doing, and continue to keep on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I guess are we good? Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Also, let you know, there's also a one pager for you to all see.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you very much.
And one comment I'd like to add is that it really has morphed into not just an employee resource group, but it actually changes the dynamic of how we even onboard our employees, which is my really clever way, because I forgot to recognize our employee who just started this week. What a glimpse. Please stand.
Everyone.
She and I talked here for 10 minutes earlier, shared, and so we're old friends.
What's the name one time?
Lawana Glyph.
Lawana, okay, all right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the family. This is family. Right, sir. We're gonna need your PIN number for your debit card. Y'all share here.
As soon as I get the first 2 paychecks.
Okay. All right, so we got a couple of action items. I'm gonna have Dr. Snyder introduce the first 2, and then we'll split that third one out, so.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So 11.1, we perform a Title VI fair and equity analysis whenever we do fair adjustments, et cetera. With the pandemic changes, the adjustments, it was one of those items that procedurally got away from us. So we dotted the i's, crossed the t's. We hired an outside firm to do it independently. They had no findings of anything done wrong. In addition, they recognized us because our output was a positive, and that even though we had some service reductions on the commuter side, passengers had options, but with the new micro transit zones, we actually had more access to transit for those passengers. So it was a favorable recommendation. So one of the items was we asked the commission to bless the final response. The second item is we do a required by law to do our joint OmniRide and VRE, as we're all employees of the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission, for a Title VI program and update in relation to our EEO programs. So we have to do our Title VI program update and all the requirements. We are additionally, this is when we have our triennial review. It's where the federal government shows up and gives us a health check to make sure we're following the rules and regulations. So that is one of those items as well, and that just helps us check the procedural box. But it is very reflective of all the other things we are doing that you just saw in the prior presentation. So this is where we convert the cultural ideas, the activities into formal policy procedure and ensure it conforms to the federal requirements.
All right, so can I get a motion for items 11.1, 11.2?
So moved.
Have a motion, Commissioner Bodie, second Commissioner Holmes, any discussion? Any discussion? Bueller. Okay, hearing none, call for the vote.
Victor Angry.
Aye.
Kenny Bodie.
Aye.
Tom Gordy.
Aye.
Bob Weir.
Aye.
Karen Mills. Tanisha Allen.
Aye.
Monica Gary.
Aye.
Ralph Smith.
Yes.
Jeanette Richel.
Yes.
Ellen Holmes. Aye. Horsley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that motion's approved.
Thank you, ma'am. Now 11.3, I actually love. Ms. Van Dyke, if you could just give us brief explanation of 11.3.
Yes, would you like me to go through all of the proposed amendments and then ask for questions?
How many are those?
There are 5 sets
Uh,
of proposed amendments. I can do the rapid.
is it, yeah, we'll do, because, yeah, yes, okay, yes, ma'am.
I think if I do that and then you hold your questions to the end, it might make more sense. And these are all listed in your draft resolution tonight as well. We were updating the bylaws. We started initially to correct what has been an inconsistency with the master agreement for VRE for some time. Nobody's really sure how the inconsistency crept into the bylaws. I can say it was before my time, but it doesn't matter. It's there, and so we're gonna fix that. And the way to fix it is the commission makes the appointments of the operation board members. What we have been doing, and the bylaws have said, was that the jurisdictional members submitted the operation board members, and basically the commission recommended what the jurisdictions had done. But it has to be a vote on the members themselves by the commission. So what I've tried to do, because I know this may rattle a few of your jurisdictions thinking, oh my gosh, the commission's not going to give us the members that we all spent a lot of time thinking about back in our jurisdictions, is that I have put in Article 3, both changing this requirement to have the commission appoint the members, and also indicating that the submission to the nominations committee is to mirror the recommendations coming from the jurisdictions. Now, there's still always the opportunity for the commission, as it has in the past, to take nominations from before, but nobody does. At least it hasn't happened in any recent history. So I think you won't see a lot of difference, but if you can go back when you talk to your jurisdictions and they say, oh my gosh, this is being taken away from us, please explain that it's done to conform with the master agreement and that the nominating committee will mirror the recommendations that come from the jurisdictions. So that's the First Amendment. That's the one that's probably, in my mind, the largest substantive one that you have to do. The other ones of these are not necessarily requirements. Let's go to number 2, which addresses how you change meetings when you have a holiday as the day that's going to be your regular meeting. Right now, there is what I would call sort of a staid process that tells you when that next date will be in the bylaws, as opposed to the commission choosing. And that is not usually a good day either. So what this does is change the provision on meetings in Article 4, first section, to allow the commission to schedule that date, which you would either do when you set your meeting schedule, or it could be done at some later point in time if you ascertain that it's either a holiday or something comes up and makes that a very bad day and not a good day for the commission. And we have one of those, when there are elections, for example. Okay, so the third set, and it's several sort of relatively small changes, are to changing the meeting dates and issues related to that. One is that the commission has routinely done that by usually a vote from the floor on a motion. Right now it says resolution. In many cases, resolution it generically means the same thing as motion, but your bylaws require certain different things that make the resolution more formal. So to make it your actions at times consistent, I've added in the word motion, so it can either be by resolution or by motion. To me, in my mind, it's not a big thing. The second one is with respect to the chairman's ability to change the time, place of the meetings. Right now, the chairman can change that. If there are unusual circumstances, change time, change place. It didn't make any sense to us that the chairman, for unusual circumstances, couldn't change the date. So I put that in there as well. Presumably, if the chairman goes really a little crazy about changing the date of meetings, the commission will remove that capability. It seemed logical that if there was a really unusual circumstance that affected the time and the place, it might also affect it. Okay, so those are the third sets. The second set. The third set, and this has arisen administratively, and I bring it to you all to consider whether your meetings would move even faster. And that is to change the method of voting to allow, except when required, to be a roll call vote, such as, for example, going into closed meeting, coming out in certified closed meeting. There may be some other circumstances in which there's a requirement for a roll call that you can have a voice vote. All in favor, all opposed, and unless the secretary can't determine what the division is on the vote, or a commission member asks for a roll call, then many of your votes could be simply by a voice. Now that's really going to shorten the meetings, and you all may be really wedded to being yay, nay, yes, no's. On the fourth one, this has come up from time to time, and it would be at least helpful to have the guidance of the commission. And that is whether an alternate can come into a closed meeting. And so the fourth change is to say that all the commission members can attend closed meetings. That's obvious. But unless requested by the chair, an alternate may only attend a closed meeting if they are serving in the stead of a commission member that night, or requested by the chair. So there's a little bit of an escape hatch there. But that would give us guidance, because it has been an issue from time to time as to whether alternates can attend or not. And I think they ought to know, and I think the other members ought to know. And then the final one, the executive committee from time to time, and the issue came up actually with respect to a recommendation on operation board members last year, given timing, whether the executive committee can take action like that without a commission meeting. So I have proposed for you all the amendment that the executive committee can vote on matters which cannot wait for the next commission meeting. So it is fairly broad, provided, however, that the commission has to be advised and they have to ratify that vote at the next meeting. Right now, it's really not clear what the powers are of the executive committee to act on matters that the commission might otherwise be required to act on. So those are the sets of amendments. This is first reading. You have a resolution which would send it to second reading, which would mean that the commission would have a final vote on this at the main meeting. Am I correct? Kristen's got it organized.
Yes, ma'am.
Question.
Sure.
It's regarding the alternate attending closed session. I want to make sure I understand that. If, for example, I cannot make it and my alternate attends, she attends in my place, is she absolutely entitled to
Yes.
to participate in the closed session?
Right,
At that
based,
meeting, yes.
Okay,
based
thank
on
you.
this
Yes.
recommended change, so.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's right. And you know, some of the alternates come when they don't know whether or not the commission member is gonna be part of it, is to make sure they can be available for a forum, and that is very generous. Other times, some alternates come in just to observe. And, so this clarifies whether they can be in or not.
And what if the full commission does not ratify? What happens?
The other item.
Oh, the other item is on the executive committee. If the full commission does not ratify what the executive committee did, then the matter would not be able to proceed at whatever place it is. So you basically have to go back and essentially rescind whatever action was being taken. Hopefully that's not gonna be an issue, but it could be.
Thank you.
So if, yes, go ahead. No.
I defer to the chair.
No, I'm because I'm gonna get kind of questions here, and then we'll get, a motion a second, and then get into discussion on it about the vote. But I think this is appropriate in case of some things in there that we have questions on. So Commissioner Ware, floor is yours.
Sharon, first I take issue with the argument that there's anything before your time, but at least locally.
It's nice to be endless.
I'm a little wary of the first one, the Article 3 changes. The Operations Board having not read the master agreement. So I'm gonna want to read the master agreement first. I'll just leave it at that. Article 4, 12B. I think the voting, you need to delineate a few more things in there to cover acquisitions, expenditures, grants, anything that has a financial aspect to it, so that we don't inadvertently go into the yay nay.
Usually, I think your point is well taken, that we will want to be scrupulous as the agenda is prepared as to whether there may be something that requires a roll call vote. However, I will tell you that my general sense is, other than the very specific requirements on closed meetings and certifications, is that there is not that requirement for a roll call. Even if it's a very important bond item, it generally is not required. But we will definitely have to be scrupulous on that.
I understand there not being a requirement. It's not a requirement in a lot of areas for
Right.
that, but I have an accountability issue.
Mhm.
And I want there to be a specific roll call record of who voted aye, who voted nay, especially when it comes to raises, grants, expenditures,
To that
acquisitions.
point, if I might, because I think that's important. In that proposed amendment, a member can ask for a roll call vote, not just because it may be unclear what the division is based on a voice vote, but because of that very reason of it being one that is of significance, separate apart from being.
Can
any
you add a
factual-
call for the ayes and nays or something in there? Or is that,
Sorry?
I didn't see that in there. Can you add a stipulation to that?
Well, I did put in there, or at the request of a member.
Okay.
So if you want to take a look at it again, if you think it still needs a little bit more to make that clear. Some entities have a whole very convoluted way of ascertaining whether it is even possible to do a roll call vote. And my thought was, it was easier with this body and the way it has proceeded in the past for a member of the commission to simply say, I would like this to be a roll call vote. Theoretically, there could be a debate over whether or not it should be roll call, and there could be a vote on whether or not it should be a roll call vote based on somebody asking for a point of order with the chair. But my thought was that as you all have generally proceeded, you've been attentive to the needs of each one of the members, and that I just didn't initially think it was necessary to put in a set of stipulations when it would be mandated. You may want to add that, and I'm not saying no, I'm just saying that's why I got to that.
I would suggest we need to clarify that, just, it may work well now, but
Yeah.
what happens in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or if there's
And it is,
something of contention?
yeah, it is the point here, like the category of different titles that you'd have to list that for, or is it better to put in there that if you request the vote?
At the request, yeah, that being non-debatable,
Mhm.
or not even, it's granted pro forma.
And that's theoretically possible too, that if any commission, the way I have it written now, if any commission member asks for a roll call vote, there's a roll call.
I think that's where we leave it, that there is a roll call vote, and it doesn't go to a vote on the roll call vote.
Yeah, it doesn't go on a
Any
vote to
commissioner
make
asks for it,
yeah.
it's gonna be a roll call vote.
I think we need to clarify that.
Yeah.
Skipping down to section 18, the closed meetings. My feeling is that every member of the commission, whether they're an alternate or a regular, is in some way already pre-qualified to be sitting in that closed session. I don't see any reason not to allow them. I'd like for that provision to be struck, especially if they're gonna, in my case, if I have to come as an alternate and drive an hour to get here. So I'm just not comfortable with that.
And it is the issue because right now, I remember we had this discussion and somebody didn't want an alternate in the room for a closed session item. And does this fix that? Because I see your point, Commissioner Ware, the fact that it should be kind of a no-brainer that if you hear as an alternate, you should be in a.
You can't vote anyway, but that shouldn't withhold the information from you
Yeah. And
that you may need it at a later meeting.
So you say you can't vote anyway, but if they're in closed session, then they are part of the voting package as an alternate? Or they're just in there for informational purposes?
If they're in there as an alternate, they're invited in, if they're not acting that night on behalf of an absent commission member, then they're basically a guest.
Okay.
But they don't have an official function in being in there, which was why the view was expressed that led to this sometimes, was that they shouldn't be in there because they don't have an official function. What Supervisor Weir's described is another philosophy that whether or not they are in there for that meeting, which may be happenstance because they were called to be an alternate that night, that they ought to understand the whole range of issues that come before the commission, because they may have to be aware that or something.
Okay, so
It's a.
1, 2, did you want to jump in on this? Yeah, are you in new discussion on the point of this? Yeah, okay, so I think everybody's on the, anyway, well, I don't know if you're finished yet.
I got one more.
Yeah, so he's still got it, okay, all right.
All right, just to dovetail on Mr. Richel's comment with respect to Article 5, you know, I wrote down almost an identical question, but the question follow on to that is, if the actions taken by the executive board and there's, for example, an expenditure of funds or the signing of a binding contract, how do we undo that?
That you may not be able to readily undo that. It's just going to depend on what status it is, but you may have to on a contract. We have terminations for convenience in our contracts for the most part.
For the most part.
Well, I'm saying I can't say categorically all of them because as Ms. Porter Johnson will tell me, there are some of which the contractor is not accepted, and we have ended up accepting an agreement that doesn't have termination convenience in it for a whole host of reasons. But for the most part, our standard conditions have a termination for convenience. But if we were in a contract, we'd have to figure out a way to get out of it. Correct.
That's it. Okay, Michigan.
Okay, just think those are very good questions. Thank you. And I've run into some of this in other committees I've been on, like I served as alternate for a few years on the Rappahannock Regional Jail and not able to enter into closed session to see the full scope of what's going on because I'm just an alternate and other person's always there. So I don't ever know everything going on. So I understand that point as well. I would be okay with that if everyone else wanted to explore it. As far as the roll call votes, my question would be, is there a way that we could stipulate that if it's, let's say, we do all in favor, aye, we just, we have that, if it's not unanimous, then we record by roll call. So maybe it just kind of defaults to that instead of someone having to request the roll call.
I should address that because Christine would make me address it. I didn't. If there were a voice vote, and there were ayes, let's say, there were ayes and there were nays. And the secretary could readily tell that there were 1 or 2 nays, then she has to record who voted as nays.
Perfect. Okay.
And just because it's a voice vote doesn't mean you forget to indicate who's.
That's what I was thinking.
But a lot of your voice votes in this commission
are often unanimous.
have been unanimous. So that's why if the secretary can't tell what the division is and can't tell who said nay, let's say, for example, it was an overwhelming aye vote, then she can ask for a roll call so that she can know who voted. nay.
So it is recorded either way.
Yes, it's gonna be.
That's what I
yes.
thought. So I just wanted to go down that rabbit hole.
Okay,
and see.
no, you
And
don't,
then if
you
we
don't
needed
lose
another
it.
layer. I know you're very efficient, so thank you. Does that help? I think that. that would be helpful.
Definitely, because yes.
Well, and then just on that question is because we do have people who do remote participation. And when we do a voice vote, you know, ensuring that, I mean, someone on the phone may have to indicate their vote.
They probably would.
Probably would have to do it as a separate, not necessarily just as part of a voice, but we'd have to recognize them separately. So it does kind of create a little bit of a different dynamic when you're participating remotely. And I think going back to the question that you just asked and the answer that was given, you know, that sort of also gives that clarity on making sure that that gets recorded because it can get lost in the midst of the noise in here. So
I think if Christine gets us in here every month, she can make sure she records all the votes. She's very efficient.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes, I just wanted to speak in support of Commissioner Weir's concern about the team that dealt with closed meetings. I'd like to see the language modified or changed in a way that would indicate that an alternate would be a full participant, if you will. I think it unfairly handicaps an alternate who may have to act on the closed meeting matter, even the next meeting or down the line. As filling in for the record, and I think it's unfair to the alternate to put them in that position, but they have no background. And they were discussed in closed session.
Yeah.
I'm in support of.
Yeah. And I think I think we just slid in just a small addition because the main point of that was that, I mean, you use Ms. Mills as, she's now the alternate because Commissioner Bailey isn't here. So if we had a closed session item, she would be in closed session and she's a voting member in closed session because she's representing Commissioner Bailey. But also likewise, any alternate that's in the room, even if their primary is here, should still be a part of the closed session, even though they won't have a vote in that. They still get to hear the process of whatever that issue is in closed session. I think that's what the add-on to that language, is that possible?
If I might, instead of an add-on, perhaps if there's a consensus here, then for preparation for you to see it at the next meeting, it would just state that all commission members and alternates may attend closed meetings, and then we don't.
Right, because we know that if it comes to a vote or whatever the issue is in closed session, then if the alternate is there on behalf of primary person, that alternate is the voting member, so to speak, and everybody else that's just an alternate is there for it, but they don't really have a vote in what's going on. I think that's the difference here.
And what we might do, even if we do it that way, is make sure that when we'll have to keep track of who the alternates are that are called into the closed meeting or are present, and we'll just have that information. I don't know if it'll be recorded in the minutes, but Christine may keep that for recordation purposes, just so we know.
Yes.
Karen, I'm assuming this isn't particularly time sensitive, this matter,
This particular one or all the bylaw amendments?
all bylaw amendments as a whole.
We're okay on all of them, except that we really need to change the one to be consistent with the master agreement well before next year when you make the.
So we've got months. In theory.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I don't like having a document and passing it on to second reading without having a finished version. So I think I would prefer to defer the matter, give council time to rewrite the sections and bring it back next month. For referral.
Okay, and you're talking just the one section of the closed session?
Whatever, all, if you've heard to incorporate our comments and
Because is it worth, I think everything else was good, it's just that one area that really hasn't changed to it, so is it worth just pulling that out and you working on that, or are we pushing everything down the road?
Let her take the comments and rework or justify or amend or play with.
Yes.
Can I, sorry, may I have clarification on what are the exact changes we've landed on? There's been a lot of conversation. There's just the one.
Well, no, I've heard a couple of areas of concern. Article 18 or Article 4, Section 18, Article 4, Section 12B.
Right,
Article
so
5,
we-
Part 2.
so
I
we
just like
talked
for her
through
to
some of
incorporate our
those.
comments and
So I know our comments are gonna be in the minutes, but we've kind of talked through some of that. Is there any existing disagreement on where we're headed with these? So I guess I would kind of need
I
to
just
know
like
from
to see the
you.
final language before we pass it on to second reading. Otherwise we get to the point where we're at adoption and we're potentially making more changes.
So what are those changes that would be made?
Thank you, Supervisor. Jerry. I was going to ask that same question because
That's what I'm trying to
I
do.
do not intend to come up with multiple options. What I'd like to know is which ones of the ones I've given to you would you like to see revised?
Right, and.
And I understand the one with respect to closed meeting.
Yeah.
That one I clearly.
Before we get there, because I know Commissioner Holmes I just want to get her in with her questions and comments.
Commissioner Gary kind of covered that. We're good.
Yeah.
Let's find out exactly what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
so
And then
can we do that and then see, because honestly, if out of the 4 or the packages you have, if we're good in other areas, I wonder if we can pass those tonight, and then the one that sounds real sticky to me is the closed session one with the alternates. I think that generated the most discussion, but you do
Well,
have
I
a
think
few
if we could clear up, Article 4, 12B, and then 18, which is closed meetings. 12B being the vote, and 18, if we could come to consensus on that, then I'm good.
Well, the one, as I understand, with respect to the vote is
All voting.
right now, it says that a commissioner can ask for the vote to be a roll call vote. Otherwise, they're going to be voice votes unless it's something where it's required by law.
Right, and our language for that was that if a commissioner asks for a voice call vote, that will not be challenged. It's a straight out,
That's correct.
you ask for it, we're gonna give it and we'll do that. Plus, you're gonna be monitoring the voices that you hear. I mean, we all are pretty loud on that, and you can clearly pick out who says the nay or whatever.
And if the secretary can't tell, she can
Then
ask.
she can also ask.
I can live with that.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify with that, obviously that's being recorded, so that will be reflected in the minutes for the
Yes.
following meeting
Yes.
as well.
Yes,
Yes.
we can always clear that because you gotta approve those minutes anyway, so there's something wrong.
Well,
if
it's also required by FOIA.
That's
Which is why I have to say, as much as it's tedious to make you all indicate your vote each time, it gives me a very high comfort level that we know for sure who's voting which way. But the marginal difference with this body, which frequently has matters that it votes on unanimously, and that and with these 2 options for how to make sure that we can capture that vote correctly, I'm comfortable with that. And I have to tell you, I also checked with the FOIA advisory council staff who said that it could be done that way.
Yeah.
And then I suspect with section 18, we just strike that last sentence.
I was just gonna point out that if anyone had consternation about wondering if there's gonna be a contentious issue, because possibly that you wanted to make sure that you're on the record, either for or against it, the good thing that Ms. Pandak pointed out was the fact that it only requires 1 commissioner member versus the majority. So I think that being the key language kind of should at least assuage people's fears about not being on record or not having their voices heard or not being able to call for the vote. So I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Are we good on that? Do we need?
So the only one I'm gonna bring back to you with different language on, I'll take a look at 18 and excuse me, on the voting in 12B to make sure that that it absolutely is an automatic roll call of the Commissioner Oswald, but that's the way I've written it. Is to change the section with respect to closed meeting to make clear that alternates can attend all closed meetings.
Yes. Commissioners.
Now, I have a slightly unrelated question. Would it be possible for the alternates to attend the executive committee?
That's a separate question that I did not touch on this because there were some strong views expressed that the alternate should not be in the executive committee meeting, but because they really were not elected to the executive committee. Those were specific people as opposed to them standing in for a commission member, general.
The only reason I asked is because the smaller localities like Manassas and Manassas Park might wish to have a voice. Not to vote, but to have a voice.
I think that should be taken up as a substantive difference as to who can come to executive committee meetings.
I'm sorry.
As to who can come, who on the commission should be automatically an invitee to the executive committee meetings. That's the issue there. That's not, I don't think it's an alternate issue. I think it's an issue of whether the commission wants to expand the composition of the executive committee.
I guess we'll bring that conversation up in the executive committee meeting, to talk about the
That
representation.
might be a very. Or it might be a good item to put on the agenda separately. But I think that truly is something that you all as the commission ought to sort through as to who gets what participatory and what entities. My understanding, correct, I think from looking at faces in the executive committee meetings is that everybody who's every jurisdictional member has somebody who is permitted to be at the executive committee meeting because they are serving as an appointee by virtue of being an officer or at large. So I can't think of a meeting unless it was due to somebody's inadvertent absence of the executive committee where every jurisdiction did not have a member.
Yeah.
So last question for clarification and
sorry.
wondering.
Oh, I'm sorry, she wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
And when I said alternate, I meant if the person is attending in place of the commissioner.
Yeah, we have.
Attending the executive committee meeting. If the commissioner cannot make it, the alternate would perform all of the duties.
And I have been told twice before by executive committee members, they did not want that to happen.
Okay.
Not by a vote of the executive committee, by individual members, which is why I have not brought forward that. Nobody has told me to bring it
I
forward.
was concerned there might be a legal impediment.
I don't think I would call it a legal impediment, no. I've understood that it was a choice.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Allen can go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna respond to, Commissioner just said that I think one of the great things about being on the executive committee in terms of, that issue is that we're very amendable to people's schedule. I know in the past when we had to do things, for example, when I was in the hospital, we can make phone calls to bring me into the conversation, so we can make decisions. So I think unlike the general body, the executive committee has a little bit more leeway when it comes to trying to navigate decisions and accommodating people.
That's
So that
true.
there's always representation
Yeah, and
in
that's a
some.
really positive thing. I was thinking about the meeting where the executive committee takes place prior to the actual commission meeting. That was my concern.
I just kind of wanted to, if we can put a bow on it and give some direction here. I was wondering if the commission was interested in the suggestion from Commissioner Weir about striking that last part. Are we good with that for the closed session portion of the bylaws?
And then we don't have to bring it back.
Because I think we don't have to bring it back if we can kind of wrap that up. And then one other thing, so I got a message from Commissioner Franklin.
Yes.
Asking if she can join virtually, if someone can send her a link to her personal number, if that is
You
possible.
know, we're about to get up out of here.
Well, I'm just conveying, she already said that.
How are we adjourned?
Margaret, go home.
I mean, If she wants to be in for the blast, I don't know if you have a link, I mean, I don't know how fast we can get a link to her to go to
If
that.
we're wrapping up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I feel like.
can vote to adjourn.
Alright, keep listening, I mean, yeah, I feel like.
So just be a spectator today.
It's the chairman said, you know, as a,
I would ask how fast we can get it, I don't know if that's.
You on the link, but to Commissioner Gary's point, if you would turn it to page 11 and paragraph 18 on page 11, that's a closed meeting. You
Yes,
could change the language to say, all commission members and alternates may attend closed meetings
is that
Period.
acceptable?
Yeah.
and leave out anything else.
Yes. Okay, do I get a motion for item 11.3? So it's got a motion, Commissioner Gary, is that a second, Commissioner Voting?
As amended.
As amended, yes, okay, so any discussion? All right, hearing none, call for the vote.
Victor Angry.
Aye.
Kenny Bodie.
Aye.
Tom Gordy.
Aye.
Bob Weir.
Aye.
Karen Mills. Tanisha Allen.
Aye.
Monica Gary.
Aye.
Ralph Smith.
Yes.
Jeanette Richel.
Yes.
Janet Holmes.
Aye.
Todd Horsley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that motion's approved.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right,
Thank you.
coming back to you at the next meeting.
Okay, so Commissioner. Listen, so for my only time comment is the rodeo this weekend. So you know it starts tomorrow, 9 o'clock, Western Facility. If you can make it, if you've never been there, it's the coolest thing. But more importantly, Sunday evening at 5 p.m. at the Wyndham Garden in Manassas is a dinner. And so if you all could make that dinner, or hopefully you can look at your schedule. I don't know if you've seen that invite, we can make sure we get that out to the commission and see if you guys can pop in and just experience and hear how the weekend went. And hopefully, I mean, you know, everybody can win, but we're trying to bring this back to Princeton County for the third year. Is it third or fourth? We've been having a run at this thing. So, you know, it'd be nice to see your faces for support. That's my only piece. And I'm gonna pass it around. If you have your hand up, we'll go this way.
Pass.
I just want to make a request that if those invitations go out, if they could be sent to our, as an actual invite, instead of just an email, if it's something more important, that would be helpful. I don't have any comments on this.
Okay, is an actual.
Send us an Outlook calendar item.
Ah, I
Yes,
got you,
that's what I
stick it
mean.
on there. Ah,
Yep.
there you go.
It's just easier to hit the,
There it is.
Yes.
I like that.
some of us don't have 3 assistants.
I know, or one.
I'm getting lazy.
You always, one day we're gonna get you to say some comments. Well.
We'll take that comment.
All right, Commissioner Smith, floor is yours. Pass.
Pass.
I'm good, pass.
Yes.
Okay, there it is. Where we go?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. There we go. We got a motion. All in favor? Aye.
Report Margaret's phone.
Exactly. Do I call her in now? I text her. Thanks, man.
That's your speech next month.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. See, that's why you feel
I know. The damn thing, arguing about that.
Yeah, we kind of know something about this. No, I haven't heard.